From powerful winds during Hurricane Ida that destroyed everything in sight, and catastrophic flooding in North Carolina in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, to record-breaking storm surges in Fort Myers, Florida when Hurricane Ian made landfall, and a typhoon in southwestern China that went down as the costliest of all time. Here is some of the most extreme hurricane footage ever caught on camera. August 29th of 2021. Hurricane Ida makes landfall along the southeastern coast of Louisiana.
You got this tractor trailer that's coming! Tractor trailer right here! Oh,
Sustained winds blew upwards of 150 miles per hour, making Ida the second most intense storm to hit Louisiana since Hurricane Katrina. Coincidentally, Ida struck on the same day as Katrina, only 16 years later. By the time it was over, the hurricane, storm surge, rain, and associated tornadoes caused about $75 billion in damage. On August 23rd of 2021, the National Hurricane Center spotted a tropical wave moving across the eastern Caribbean Sea. By dinnertime, it was officially named Tropical Storm Ida. Ida gained significant strength over the next several days. By the time it smashed into Cuba on August 27th, it was a Category 1 hurricane. From there, the storm moved into the Gulf of Mexico, where the warm, open waters allowed it to gain immense strength. It rose through the hurricane ranks, quickly becoming a Category 4 storm. Wind speeds topped 130, 140, and then 150 miles per hour as Ida barreled down upon southern Louisiana. The day before landfall, Louisiana authorities believed Ida would be the strongest hurricane to impact the state since the mid-19th century. Governor John Edwards said she would be the ultimate test for the new levee system in New Orleans. While those in Ida's direct path fled the area, others stayed behind and recorded the storm in real time. This footage from Lafourche Parish shows Ida's winds ripping apart what looks like a music school. Elsewhere in Lafourche, a brave local kept the camera rolling as Ida's winds knocked over everything in sight. For context, traffic lights can easily weigh between 100 and 300 pounds. Watch how Ida whips them around like paper. Finally, in La Rose, Louisiana, a local man woke up to learn that Ida was spinning directly over his house. Watch how it made quick work of the property and sent a shipping container barreling across his neighbor's lawn.
we're getting close to the eye right now. We're starting to lose on the roofs. It's unbelievable. You got this tractor trailer that's coming. Tractor trailer right here. Oh, shit! Trailer. Oh! That's an 18-wheeler trailer!
According to our cameraman, he and his wife spent the morning sipping coffee on the porch as water from the bayou began flooding their lawn. They fled to a neighbor's house, which was better equipped to handle the storm. Then, hours later, all hell broke loose. Ida wasn't done after landing in Louisiana. By September 2nd, the storm had moved into the mid-Atlantic region, bringing destructive thunderstorms and tornadoes to Virginia, Georgia, and Maryland. New York saw over 3 inches of rain each hour, which led to catastrophic flooding in the city streets. In the end, Ida went down as one of the most destructive hurricanes in U.S. history. It caused over $75 billion in damages, claimed 112 lives, and devastated regions from Cuba to Atlantic Canada. September 28th of 2022. Fort Myers, Florida is underwater. Hurricane Ian was an intense, high-end Category 4 storm and the strongest to make landfall in Florida since Hurricane Michael in 2018. Wind speeds climbed to 155 miles per hour, only 2 miles per hour shy of making Ian a Category 5 hurricane. It's unlikely those 2 miles per hour made a real difference. Ian still went down as one of the most destructive and deadly hurricanes of all time. Ian was born between September 14th and 15th as a tropical wave off the west coast of Africa. It moved across the Atlantic Ocean and officially became Tropical Storm Ian on September 23rd. Over the next few days, Ian grew into a powerful hurricane. By the morning of September 27th, Ian reached Category 3 intensity, becoming the strongest September storm in the Gulf of Mexico since Hurricane Irma in 2017. Ian first made landfall in Pinar del Rio province in western Cuba. Life-threatening storm surges knocked out the entire island's power grid. Parts of Cuba looked like a wasteland, and Ian wasn't done yet. The storm had its eyes on Fort Myers, Florida, where local communities were under mandatory evacuation orders. Those who risked everything to stay behind captured some of the wildest hurricane footage you'll ever see. Watch how Ian's relentless winds batter everything in sight as the storm surge completely floods Fort Myers. That's what Ian looked like from the safety of this high-rise apartment. On the ground, things were much, much worse. According to our cameraman, this video was taken on September 30th after Ian had crossed over Florida and made its second landfall in South Carolina. The wind may have died down, but the flooding was still intense. According to the National Weather Service, Ian's storm surge grew to a record high of 7.26 feet in Fort Myers. Footage from another high-rise in the city helps put the storm surge in perspective. Ian finally dissipated on October 1st after making landfall in South Carolina. By then, the damage was already done. The record-breaking storm knocked out power to millions of people between Florida and the Carolinas. It claimed 161 lives between the U.S. and Cuba and caused a combined $113 billion in damage, making it the costliest hurricane since 2017 and the third most expensive of all time behind Katrina and Irma. Those rankings could change as we're still learning more about the impact of hurricanes Milton and Helene. On October 2nd of 2024, Hurricane Helene officially became the deadliest mainland storm since Hurricane Katrina. It smashed into the Big Bend of Florida and wreaked havoc on many inland regions, especially North Carolina.
There goes my fridge. Oh, damn! Oh, shoot!
Hurricane Helene began on September 17th as a small storm in the western Caribbean Sea. Scientists kept their eye on it as several hurricane-inducing factors came together. On September 24th, the hurricane hunters flew into the storm and confirmed what everyone feared. The system was officially upgraded to Tropical Storm Helene. Like Milton, Hurricane Helene grew abnormally large for a Gulf of Mexico storm. It intensified almost as quickly and was a Category 4 hurricane by the evening of September 26th. It reached its peak sustained wind speed of 140 miles per hour as it landed on the Big Bend region of Florida, making it the strongest hurricane ever to strike the area. Time-lapse footage from a home on the Crystal River shows how quickly the storm surge overwhelmed everything in sight. The wind blew violently until around 10 p.m. on the 26th, at which point the water began rising. It breached the grass close to midnight and rose over this family's back porch around 1 a.m. By 2 a.m., water had entered the home and climbed about halfway up the wall. The power flashed out, and it took until 8:30 that morning for most of it to recede. This was a familiar scene in Florida and one the locals had anticipated. However, the storm blindsided those living in places like Swannanoa, North Carolina. Take this man who was almost washed away in a freak flash flood.
Oh, damn! Oh, shoot! Oh, man, I'm losing it. My trailer's going. Oh, shit. Oh, man. Oh, this is scary, guys. Oh, man. I'm sorry, I did not mean to swear. Holy moly.
Our cameraman said he woke up that morning to flooding over his knees. He couldn't evacuate even if he wanted to. By midday, the water was between 4 and 5 feet high. Lucky for him, his trailer held up and he escaped with his life. Others weren't so lucky. Storm-related events such as flash flooding claimed over 90 lives in North Carolina alone. As of this writing, Hurricane Helene has claimed over 200 lives, caused over $38 billion worth of damage, and devastated communities across the southern United States. While the Western Hemisphere contends with ruthless hurricanes each year, the Eastern Hemisphere has its own deadly cyclones to worry about. Typhoons and hurricanes are the same thing. They're both tropical cyclones, a generic term used to describe rotating systems of clouds and thunderstorms originating over tropical or subtropical waters. When a storm moves into the North Atlantic, Central North Pacific, and Eastern North Pacific Oceans, it's called a hurricane. When the same storm forms in the Northwest Pacific, the South Pacific, and the Indian Ocean, it's called a typhoon or tropical cyclone. In other words, hurricanes ravage the United States, and typhoons and cyclones impact Southeast Asia. On July 28th of 2023, Typhoon Duu, also known as Super Typhoon Ige in the Philippines, made landfall in Xinjiang, China, a coastal city in Fujian province. With it came 112-mile-per-hour winds, equivalent to a Category 3 hurricane in the U.S. Several clips from around the city show what it's like to be caught in the middle of one of these things. Some sources suggest that Doksuri was the strongest storm of the 2018 typhoon season and the second strongest to strike Fujian since records began in the 1950s. Between the damage, power outages, and lost crops, it impacted over 700,000 people. Now let's put some population figures into perspective. Fort Myers, Florida, where Hurricane Ian made landfall in 2022, is home to about 96,000 people. Xinjiang, China, where Typhoon Doksuri struck, is home to nearly 2 million people. Imagine the chaos when trying to evacuate or rescue people after the fact. In the end, Typhoon Doksuri caused over $28 billion worth of damage between China, the Philippines, and Taiwan, making it the costliest storm of its kind on record. It'll be several more days, maybe even weeks, until we know how bad Hurricane Milton truly was. As of this writing, over a dozen people have perished, millions are without power, and thousands of homes have been flooded or destroyed. On October 5th of 2024, a tropical depression formed in the Bay of Campeche off the coast of southeastern Mexico. This depression rapidly grew into Tropical Storm Milton, becoming the 13th named storm of the 2024 Atlantic hurricane season, a season that had gotten off to an oddly slow start. It had only been 10 days since Hurricane Helene brought widespread devastation to the Big Bend region of Florida and the Mid-Atlantic area. Some people were just beginning to pick up the pieces when news of another hurricane reached their ears. According to NASA, Milton underwent a remarkable period of rapid intensification. In just 48 hours, the storm went from a tropical depression to a full-fledged Category 5 hurricane. Wind speeds increased from 35 miles per hour to 160 miles per hour, with some reports claiming they reached 180 miles per hour. No other hurricane in history has ever grown so quickly. Now, while it's hard to tie the word lucky to a devastating hurricane, the truth is that Milton could have been significantly worse. It fell to a Category 3 storm when it landed near Siesta Key, Florida on October 9th of 2024. The barrier island took the brunt of the damage as Milton shrunk to a Category 1 storm while moving across the state. Once it passed, footage from affected areas around Siesta Key and Sarasota appeared online. These drone shots come from a flooded neighborhood in Sarasota County. Watch as the water covers the streets and land between all these houses. It almost looks like the neighborhood was built directly over a lake. Imagine stepping outside to find this on your doorstep. While most people evacuated as Milton came ashore, these daredevils flew their plane into the eye of the storm, and it was all in the name of science.
147. Pretty good. 151. Pretty good. 155. I'm gonna grab my phone real quick. Yeah. Well. Damn.
Meet the Hurricane Hunters. They're an outfit working with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or the NOAA, whose job is to fly into the eye of intense hurricanes and collect as much data as possible. You need nerves of steel and a rock-solid stomach to do this job. Their work saves lives, plain and simple. The data they collect helps predict how intense a hurricane will likely be and where it will land. But the hurricane itself is not the only thing we have to worry about. Many areas around Florida have reported destructive tornadoes spawning from Milton's remnants. In Cape Coral, traffic cameras captured a powerful waterspout moving over the Matlacha Bridge. Things went from calm to catastrophic in a matter of minutes as the storm system passed through. Ironically, this all happened while a local weatherman kept people updated. The rotation moves from right to left across your screen. Visibility drops dramatically within seconds, and the wind causes the camera to nearly shake itself loose. While West Coast Florida got the worst of it, the East Coast wasn't out of the woods. In Martin County, an unusual number of tornadoes ripped several homes to shreds, as seen in this footage provided by the local sheriff's department. Many tornado outbreaks were reported across southern and central Florida. The strongest so far was an EF3 in Palm Beach Gardens, though more damage surveys are underway. If you enjoyed this video and want to see another just like it, be sure to click the link on screen now. With that, thanks for watching and be sure to tune in next time.